What if you stopped dreaming of wealth and started building it? For every woman who has ever relied on a partner for financial security or believed money was a man's game, this is your wake-up call.
I can remember at the time I got told by a lot of men that I couldn't do it, and I found that hard. I found women supported me, but men didn't. My accountant was a man, and he was like, I really don't want to tell you this, Mrs. Hookway, but I really don't think you're ever going to do this.
Abi Hookway didn't just take control, she transformed it. After divorce and crushing debt, she was told it would take 20 years to recover, but instead, she became a multi-millionaire.
Got to a point in my life where I was really struggling to hold together this career, have my 2 children, maintain my marriage, and unfortunately my marriage fell apart.
This isn't about making money, it's about making decisions, it's about reclaiming your financial power, rewriting your future, and proving that wealth has no age limit.
How do people get good at things? They get good because they have the challenge, because confidence comes from failing.
So if you're tired of feeling that finances belong to someone else, you're tired of surviving and ready to build real lasting wealth, then this episode is your blueprint, because it truly is your time and your financial freedom starts now. Abi, so very happy to have you with me today. Thank you for coming in. Your story is absolutely incredible. I think it's so empowering for women, and I just cannot wait for you to share the story. Can you just dive straight in and just, we had that conversation on the phone.
Yeah.
That alone just blew my mind. Can you just, in a nutshell, talk us through your journey?
Yeah, so like most women, I'd been to school, got a good education, got a good job. I'd been taught work up the career ladder because that's really good for you. So I was working up the career ladder in BT, met my husband, got married, had 2 kids. And then I got to a point in my life where I was really struggling to hold together this career, have my 2 children, maintain my marriage. And unfortunately, my marriage fell apart. So at the age of 31, I found myself divorced with 2 kids under 5 on my own, and kids under 5 are hard work. They're not easy to manage, with still my full-time job, but in so much debt. I didn't own a house. I was living in rented. I'd screwed my credit rating because of my divorce. And the real rock bottom moment for me was I went to an independent financial advisor, because all my family had said, right, you need some help. You need to sort out your finances, get back. So here, go to the expert. And I sat down with this guy. He was an older guy that sat down with me and looked at my debt and looked at everything. And he said, there's not a lot I can tell you, but you're going to be paying this off for the next 20 years. And that was like someone had hit me.
Yeah.
It just felt, oh my gosh, I'm going to be strangled by my financial situation for the next 20 years. But not only that, I was working incredibly hard, missing out on time with my kids to what? Pay back this. And it was £24,000 of debt I'd got myself into to pay back this debt. So I went back to my little rented house, which wasn't the nicest either. And I think that helped me to become a really good landlord later on.
Okay.
And I was sat there thinking, what am I going to do? I've got these 2 children, I'm 31 years old, so a lot of my 20s is gone. How have I got myself here, and what am I going to do? And I thought, a lot of people say, follow your passion and do what you love. So what do I love? I like people. And I like property. And I was like, oh God, but how could I do property? I've got no time.
When you say you like property, what do you mean? At 31?
So I used to walk down the street and look at property.
Okay.
I played Monopoly when I was little.
Okay.
Just anything to do about houses and property I loved.
Okay. So you weren't this big property guru. You just loved property, beautiful houses, and just the concept of property.
I'd watched all these shows. So location, Homes Under the Hammer. I loved everything to do with property and refurbing houses. And I thought, well, can I get started in that? Then I thought, I'm in loads of debt. How on earth can I get started in property? So I was on Google, like you do, because Google gives you everything. Yeah. And Google was saying this guy, Paul Smith, was talking to people about borrowing other people's money. So apparently you could borrow money from other people, buy a property, do it up and make money that way. So I set out
even if you're in debt.
Even if you're in debt,
Okay.
credit rating or anything didn't matter. So I went to meet Paul, and that was it really. That was the start of my journey. And 8 years later, I've built an £8 million property portfolio. Well, 8.3 now from yesterday because I got my newest one.
Incredible.
Yeah, and it's insane. I got out of debt, quit my job, and now I just live an amazing life with my kids.
I honestly, I just love everything about that story. I think there are many, many women that possibly can be in a situation like that. And at that point, they can very, very quickly spiral downhill, or they're waiting to be rescued, for someone to come and rescue them. And I think as women, sometimes we feel that that could be a man that could come and rescue us, but you didn't. What was it? What sort of grit was it inside of you? Because so many people are often at that crossroads, and you can either sink or swim, right?
So I believe everything happens for a reason and there's no coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
So my ex-husband had said to me, he said, you're not going to cope on your own. You're going to come back. And he was waiting for me to fail. And I think I've got two choices. I'm going to rise up and give it everything I've got. And if I do fail, I fail, but at least I tried. Or I wait around, try and marry someone else. But I just felt like I am going to prove you wrong no matter what. And whether that was the right attitude to have back then, but I thought I ain't going back to him, and I'm going to show him exactly what I can do. And I'm going to show my children what a strong woman can do. And it was hard. I can remember at the time I got told by a lot of men that I couldn't do it. And I found that hard. I found women supported me, but men didn't.
Really?
My accountant was a man, and he was like, I really don't want to tell you this, Mrs. Hookway, but I really don't think you're ever going to do this. So why don't you not open a limited company? I was like, no, I need to open one because that's how you do property investing.
Love it.
Mortgage broker, even a solicitor said something to me about buying the first properties. Like, you sure you know what you're doing here? This could end very badly. And I was like, I do know what I'm doing, thank you. But I think it's that fire, my ex-husband, and I'm very grateful that he said it to me even all these years after, because I don't think if he hadn't said that to me, I wouldn't have been so, I'm going to do this no matter what.
I think that's really powerful. And I think having that really strong inner voice for yourself is crucial, because we have so many little voices in our head, and often it's fear creeping in, or it's negativity, or it's all the excuses of why you can't do something. And actually, if your voice can be loud enough to say, like you just said, yes, I can. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to smash it.
Yeah.
And I think another point that you've touched on, which I actually really resonate with, is I think as a mother, we have such an important role. And actually, sometimes if you're going through a difficult time, you're such a role model to your children without even knowing it, or of how you cope in that situation, and also how you rise. Like, I think you really do need to embrace moments, because life isn't one big, fairy tale. How did you get yourself into debt? Because that's another big thing around money. And for some women as well, spending is sometimes a bit of a comfort. Sometimes when you're going through things, it helps just like stick a Band-Aid over it.
My money mindset was terrible. Like, nobody tells you what to do with money, do they?
No.
You go to school and you learn maths, but it's not, how to budget and what you should do with money.
Yeah.
So me and my ex-husband, he earned a lot of money. I wasn't doing, bad at BT really at the time and for my age. So what did we do? Like anybody, we had the lifestyle.
Yeah.
We had the house, we had the cars. And when I had my two children, to put both of them into full-time childcare, it was something like $1,400 a month. So I didn't necessarily have the disposable income. So what did I do? Credit card. So I wanted my little boy dressed nicely, or my little girl, I would bang it on the credit card.
Yep.
Parties, because your kids get invited all over. It's constant school trips. It's constant money, isn't it?
Yep.
And I like to spend on clothes and,
Yep.
female stuff. So yeah, I just didn't have a clue. I was banging it on credit cards. But, something in the back of my head said all the time that I'd just make money and I'd be okay. And it was crazy, really, even back then. And then when we came to divorce and we sat down and we'd looked, and this is really sad actually. So two people earning great money, we sat down in our divorce and we're like, we don't have anything to split.
Oh,
We don't
gosh.
have any money because we both had debt. We did have the house and we paid a little bit off the mortgage, but not a lot. But we were parting at the age of 31, nothing. And that really taught me that we'd fundamentally done something wrong. And I believe it's what we're not taught. So I'm a huge ambassador of what you should teach your children about money, because I wish I'd have known it a long time ago.
What have you learned? What can you pass down?
3 biggest things that I've learned about money is money has 3 uses. So we're only taught 2 of them. We're taught to spend money and to save money. That's traditional. That's what you're taught by your parents. You learn it from their parents. But we miss the 3rd use of money, which is use it to make more money. So all this money me and my ex-husband were bringing in, we should have invested it. We should have got it making us more money to build a passive income, but we didn't. We did have, I say we had savings, but we needed to pay off debt. So we just spent money. But most people spend. Some people have some savings, but very few use their money to make more money. And that's what the rich and the millionaires do. They're constantly, every single pound that's coming in, they look at what's going out and what's making them the passive income. And I wish that I'd understood that. But like most people, in school, they teach you to get educated, get a good job, work up the career ladder, buy a house, pay it off, pay into your pension, boom, that's you. And what do? You end up giving 40, 50, 60 years of your life away to work. You never truly live or be free. But you can be free if you generate the passive income, which is where property for me just came into its own, because it goes up in value and it gives you money.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we not all taught this?
Yeah, I honestly think it's absolutely incredible. And I think it's such a powerful message, particularly for women. I was literally reading this morning, it was a stat that said women between the ages of 45 and 54, so last year, 2024, their return on investment were higher than men by about 8%. And I was like, wow. Because when you think, I don't know if you agree with this, Abby, but when you think of money, finance, it feels like a bit of a man's world. I know that there are women that rely on their husbands or their partners to look after the money. That offers them some sort of safety, but actually they're disempowering themselves and actually losing a little bit of control. And I don't know whether as you get older you start to realize that or not, but I think what you've done is incredible, because you're such an ambassador for women to go out there. You can do this on your own.
Yeah, really, really important that women find this out, because I speak to a lot of women that are trapped in very unhappy marriages, but they cannot leave because of the finances. And they sort of, trying in their head, they're very unhappy. They want to leave, but their sheer panic is, how am I going to survive without, him being the breadwinner? And I do think it comes from when we're younger. As little girls, we look up to our dads, don't we? Our dads provide things, our dad's safety, our dad has the money. So we've sort of learned this, but it is probably not the right thing to do to protect yourself. And I also think as you get older and you want to be in a successful relationship, both of you should be empowered for money. If you look at very successful marriages within the rich, the millionaire world, it's both of them that are working, both of them bringing in the money, both of them looking after the money.
And we want our daughters to look at us and not grow up thinking, I need to marry into it, but actually I'm going to build this myself and have my own empire. Everyone has those pinch me moments. I know if I think about my life, there's moments where I literally pinch myself and think, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful, like this has worked out. You're obviously stepping into new territory. You've never done this before. And then you make that first sale. Can you remember when you thought, I'm onto something?
Yeah, it was one of the first property deals that I did. So I found a house in my local village and it was a really run down house. I was taught how to raise money from private angel investors. So I'd been at the dentist. My dentist had agreed to back me.
Oh, wow.
So he was going to give me 200,000 to buy this property, do it up and sell it. And he was funding everything. He would get 10% return back on his money and I would get the profit. And the profit we were estimating about 80,000. Now I went over refurb a bit, so I only walked away with 72,000 net profit. But I can remember pinching myself the day it sold, and my solicitor said it's sold. The cash buyers, they want it fast because they want to move in. So we'll be getting your dentist paid back in 4 weeks. And so he was going to get 200,000 plus his 20 grand. And I would walk away with 72,000. And that even the money came later. But that day I thought, I've done it.
Oh,
I can pay back this 24 grand worth of debt that has been round my neck. I can take the kid. And I did. I went and booked an all-inclusive holiday to take the kids because I thought I'm not having the stigma of being a single mum and not being able to do things with my kids.
Yeah.
So I'm taking them on holiday. So paying back my debt, taking them on holiday. And then I'm like, what do I do with the rest of the money? And then I was like, why am I not going again?
Yeah.
So I rang my dentist that day and said, do you want to do it again? Because I'm just about to send you 20 grand. Do you want to, borrow me the money again? And he said, yeah. And I was like, this works. And it'd been hard. It wouldn't have been easy to get out of my comfort zone. We're dealing with builders, and who are builders? Male-dominated world, isn't it? So learning to sweet talk and deal with them. And I thought, my God, it worked. And it did. And it was amazing the amount of money I've made from flipping. I must have made, 2-3 million over the years just from flipping property alone, never mind holding it and doing all the other property stuff I do.
It is almost just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Once you know what you're doing, you just kind of cookie cutter that and keep going. What does your life look like today, Abi?
So now I'm really lucky because I've built a business around my portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So my portfolio is managed by people that I employ. So that's all done and looked after for me. I opened another business 4 years ago, an estate agency that helps investors called Redmayne Smith. And again, I've got managing director staff that do that. So my days I like inspiring and helping people. Yesterday, I did what I wanted, went for a walk in the peaks, bought another commercial property, which is really exciting. So I get to do property investing. I'm on social media a lot, inspiring people. And then time with the kids, which you don't get back because they grow so fast, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely priceless time, like you said. And you're absolutely killing it on social. I think you just have such a very personal way. And I think when people watch you, they feel like you're giving them value and you're going to help improve their lives. Yeah. I guess if there's listeners, Abi, listening to this or women at the moment that are feeling a little bit invisible, a little bit scared, want to make that next step, want to create their own money, their own wealth, what could you say maybe more around sort of mindset shifts and actually kind of believing in themselves and doing something they've never done before? And I'm one of those women, I'll be honest. I'd always passed it on to someone else. I found it a bit scary, if I'm honest, to kind of go into this new one. And I'd almost rewired my brain to always say, oh, I'm not very good with money, or, oh, that's not really my thing. And I did get to a point where I thought, hang on, no, the age that I'm at, I need to have full control of this. And I don't want anyone else to be in control of anything except me. I have a brain. I can go to a place where I think is scary and learn and improve, because how good does that feel also when you challenge yourself on something that you fear? Yeah. And so I'm sure that there's women out there as well that are either stuck in a situation they can't get out of, like you said, because they fear that, or they just want to dabble in it, but they're just scared.
There's 2 pieces of advice I got very early on in my journey, and it stayed with me, and I use them today. So I'll give 2 if that's all right. The first one is to remember your mind is like a parachute. When your mind closes, the parachute closes and you drop to the floor. So you cannot tell yourself anything that's going to close your parachute. For me, it would have been very easy for me to say, I'm a single mum in loads of debt. Who's going to give me any money to do this? Who's going to believe in me? Oh, God, I can't do this. And my parachute would have closed. So instead of saying I couldn't, I started to say, how can I? How can I be a single mum in debt and get somebody to believe in me? How can I do this? How can I make sure I don't lose money in this deal because I don't have anything to wipe me and my kids out? Yep. So it's really important that you remember your brain is like a parachute and you've got to rewire your wording. So never tell yourself can't doesn't exist in my world. Never tell yourself you can't, you're not good enough or anything. Always ask the question. So that's the first piece of advice. And I visualize it as a parachute. And whenever I tell myself something and that I start to close, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to close my parachute because to succeed, I've got to keep it open. The first thing.
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, it's really.
I'm actually going to imagine myself skydiving, thinking, I can't afford to. That parachute needs to stay up. But I'm going to remember your words, Abi. I actually love that analogy.
Because every time then you talk negative to yourself or you tell yourself a limiting belief, you switch it. I don't know anything about building businesses. I never have. But I didn't say I couldn't. I just said, what do I need to do now to work it out? And I got educated and I got help. So that's, parachute's really good. The second thing I did years ago was I wrote a letter to myself. I pretended I was 10 years in the future. So at the time I was 31, so I was 41 in my head when I wrote this letter to myself. So at the age of 41, I was writing a letter, but I was 31. And in this letter, I was praising myself for everything I've done. I was like, well done, you made it. You became a millionaire before you were 40. You held together your children. You paid back all your debt. I'm so proud that you built this huge portfolio. And I would read that. And from that letter, I then gave myself the daily affirmations. Like, I am good enough to achieve anything I want. The universe gives me endless opportunities. Everything I touch turns to gold. That's what I tell myself every day. So I had my letter, my affirmations, and I look at them, and I still today will look at them and do it every day, and the parachute analogy. And that's really helped me to keep my mindset so strong and so focused. Even when my mum came and tried to take down my parachute, because my mum told me in my first year, all a scam. My mum said I'd joined a pyramid scheme. I was like, I don't know how you think pyramid schemes work, Mum, but it's definitely not property. Even when someone else tries to shut my parachute, I'm like, no, they don't know, because my mum's never built money. My mum had never done property. How could she tell me it couldn't be done? Because in her head, she didn't know. She'd never done it.
Yeah.
So that's the 2 pieces of advice I would give any woman who's starting, who wants to do something. And you got to feel the fear and do it, because that's how you know you're growing and you're coming out your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you're so right. You've got to not sometimes, you've always got to feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Yeah.
So then let me ask you, so you're 39 now.
Yes.
So if you were sitting down after this, grabbed yourself a coffee, pen and paper, and you wrote a letter to 49-year-old Abi, so 10 years from now, but what will you be saying in 10 years from now, do you think?
I think I'll be thanking myself for inspiring millions of people across the world to take control of finances and to build wealth. I'll be congratulating myself because my business will have hit 100 million. I mean, it did 1.3 last month, so we're on track. We're on track to 100 million business. And I think finally, I'll probably be thanking myself for loving myself, because so many people don't love themselves, and it's very difficult, isn't it, to even love the parts that you don't like. I mean, I'm a normal person. I'm not perfect. I get things wrong. You can have both sides of me. I can be nice and I can be a bit of a pain sometimes. So I would love to get to a point and work on myself so much that I just totally love myself. And I think that would be a great place to do. And I'll be congratulating myself because my children will be great people and not spoiled.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on.
When you're raising children, it's so difficult sometimes to create that balance when maybe you're able to provide them stuff or a lifestyle that you weren't able to once have. It's difficult to not then want to give them everything.
Yeah.
But then are you setting them up for failure? So I think that's another thing. Once you start creating your wealth, it's probably quite tricky.
It is really difficult because when I was very, very, didn't have any money back when I was 31 and in my rented house, I mean, Ellie got invited to a party. She was only 2.5 at the time and her little friend was turning 3. And I didn't let her go because I couldn't afford the present. I didn't think she had a nice enough outfit. So that freaked me out. I didn't know what the other mums would say about me and I couldn't rock up empty-handed. And so I didn't let her go. Remembering it, and it would only cost £5 to get a little something for a 3-year-old, wouldn't it? But remembering that. So nowadays I do have the tendency to overcompensate. And then I have to remember something my mentor taught me was a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. How do people get good at things? They get good because they have the challenge. So I need to balance it and I need to give my children challenge to make them resilient to this world, to get them good and to develop their skills. And because confidence comes from failing and then achieving, doesn't it? But you have to feel the failure. So I have to balance myself constantly. So that I like the C saying, because it makes me think, oh, what am I trying to do for my child here? Why am I trying to overcompensate? I don't need to. I want to make them into good human beings and try not to spoil them. But it is hard.
You don't get a manual as a parent to see what's right and what's wrong, but it's really hard. And I think, Abi, there's also that maternal instinct where because I am so guilty of what you've just said. I always want to save them. I always want to fix it.
Yeah.
And as my children have grown, I think I've had to have a real reality check on my parenting and where I was like, oh, I'm such a good mum. I'm like, I think I've made a few mistakes in wanting to do everything and wanting to save them and just not being able to bear to see them ever get hurt or see them cry or it's just so painful. But as they've grown, so have I. And I've realised in some areas they're still developing and they could have been further ahead had I not save them and let them work it out themselves. But
you're not alone. We've all made mistakes parenting, haven't we?
yeah.
And I'm probably still making loads of mistakes now, but I think as a parent, what you can do is do your best, give love, and growth comes on the border of support and challenge. So it's great you've stepped in to say, because children still need that. They need both. So I think as mums, we just need to forgive ourselves and go, nobody tells you how to do this. We're just doing our best. And as long as our love is there for our children, everything's going to be fine.
And so when your children do get to a certain age, do you think that property is something that you're going to be advising them to be getting into at an early age? And if so, what age? Like, when are you going to start trying to get them into the game?
So I'm getting my son, who was turning 13 this year, into property now.
Really?
Yes, because people don't know this, but a 12, 13-year-old can be a director in a limited company and can hold property. So
really?
Yeah, Thomas wants extra money to play Fortnite, like most teenagers. So, and I showed him one of my buy-to-lets that gives me £500 net profit a month passively. So Thomas asked the question, because his parachute, he's like, well, how can I get a property that gives me 500, because he's going to have £500 for Fortnite.
Yeah.
He's going to borrow the money off his nan that's just got the money sat in the bank to give her a good return. I'll support him, but he'll buy a property, do it up, he'll mortgage it within the limited company, pay back his nan, he's left with the asset, and he'll have £500 net profit. And I'm really hoping I'll have sorted him by then that he doesn't blow it all every month on Fortnite, that he is actually going to save it and invest it. But yeah, 13 is the magic number. Ellie right now is 9. So what I do with Ellie, and I've done for a while, is Ellie had a doll's house. So her dolls were paying her rent. So she understood.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I just love it.
So I'm trying to teach them that the way for the world is passive income. Now, I'm really lucky because they've got their dad. Their dad works a normal job, and my children have already picked up from going from my house to the dad's house. How come you've got more money? How come you can go on holiday all the time, Mum? How come we go a lot with you, but Dad doesn't take us? I'm like, it's not because your dad doesn't want to, but your dad only has so many holidays a year because he has a boss. Your dad doesn't have all the money to do it. So they're already seeing that. So they're already pushing for it. I've just got to be careful that I do it in the right way. But Thomas will start this year.
So would you be encouraging them to then look at university and things like that, or not?
Well, I'm a uni dropout. Okay. So I only went to uni for 4 months, scared living daylights at me, dropped out.
Okay.
And I now employ people with degrees. So my advice to my children, if my children want to go, I will fully support them, because I do think you get other skills from university. You develop a network, and it's really good to bring you on. But no, that isn't going to give them the life that they want, a life of freedom. Both my children are adamant they don't want to spend their life working for someone else. They want to build wealth. So I would like them to probably not go to university, because I don't think it's going to help them do that. And I want them to learn what the millionaires know to really excel their wealth. I also think we're at a time in humanity right now where the school system is broken. The world our children are going to go in with AI. How is university preparing someone for that? Most of the university jobs are going to be gone by AI. Solicitor, all of solicitors, conveyancing, that'll be done by AI. Taxi drives in London, the taxi driver this morning, I was thinking about it, your job's going to go in 3 years, mate, unless you do something about it. So how are our children being brought up to this new world? They're not. The schools are not preparing them. It's because I think the lecturers, the teachers, not their fault. They don't know. Our government isn't ready for it. Nobody's ready for it. So what I'm saying to my children now, and anybody I come in contact with, is build wealth now.
Yeah.
So I'll get Thomas started at 13 to start a portfolio, because housing is basic human need. AI can't take housing away. Yeah. Everybody's going to need housing and land. Yeah. So this is, for me, is where I think people need to get going. I do think AI will open new opportunities, but I do think university's broken. And like I say, I employed so many people 9 to 5 that have got university degrees, and I don't.
And it is that round skill. You do learn your independence, your confidence, stepping out into the world. So it does bring so much more. With regards to AI, do you think, how will that affect what you do, both in a positive and a negative way?
I think I'll make more money.
Yeah?
Because I'll employ less staff, because AI is going to replace most of what a lot of my staff do, like accounting,
Let's make sure they don't hear this podcast.
My staff know, because I'm encouraging them to do property.
Okay.
And to get out there. But I do think I'll make more money. I think AI will bring massive benefits, and I'll probably be able to move faster, make more money. What's the downside? The downside that I worry about is human beings losing touch with what we should be doing. And I think maybe AI is going to make everybody's life a little bit easier so that human beings go back to a steadier way of life and more human interaction. So I think what's going to happen is AI will do the hard lifting and do a lot of the things. I do think there'll probably be a universal salary at some point brought in for everybody, and everyone will just get paid. And then the people that have foreseen it will be the millionaires, will keep the money and still be able to live that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's very, and I think we're in a really tricky spot with things like AI and social. Like, it has added and enhanced our lives in so many ways, and yet on the flip side of it, it's also created problems that didn't exist before. So I think with anything in life, it has to always be a balance. That's the sweet spot, but it's also the tricky part to get to it. So you obviously empower both men and women to do what you do. Tell me a little bit about that side of your work.
Yeah, so I do two things. I basically teach people how to do this if they're starting with little or they've got a small pot of cash, and I help them build portfolios. So I've got 2 best-selling books on Amazon, and I run seminars a lot of the time. And then the other side of my business is I physically help people invest. So people will come to me and they'll go, Abi, I've got $500,000 in the bank. How can I make this into, a property portfolio that's going to give me $100,000 net a year? And I help them build and help give them good investments. So it depends what people are looking for. I can help. But I honestly believe that you can't go wrong with investing in property, and specifically UK property. It's safe. It's always going to be in demand. It's massively in demand right now because of our housing crisis. So whatever you do with property, you're going to make money.
So with regards to both of those things, is there like a minimum? If somebody came to you and they just want to get into property or they want to get into investing, like, is there a minimum? Because there might be people thinking, I want to do this, but I don't have much.
I get asked this all the time. I started with nothing. Well, worse than nothing, 24 grand worth of debt. So there's not a minimum. You can do this if you're very skint, but you do need time. So you need at least 6 hours a week. So if you've not got no money, but you've got 6 hours a week, get educated, follow the blueprint, you can do it. There's so much money in this world. You just need to learn how to get it into your hands to use it, like I did with my dentist. Most of the people I help and train have got about 20 to 50 grand in the bank. And in 1 year, we can make them a £1.1 million property portfolio that they do themselves because we just teach them. And they get to about 9.5 grand net passive a month coming into their bank account. And that's after 12 months. So, and that's starting with 20 to 50 grand. People that start with 0, it's a little bit harder. Of course it is. And you've got to hustle a little bit harder, but they can do the same using other people's money. So
we talked earlier about that kind of pinch me moment. So I'm guessing now that you're also hearing about many other people's pinch me moments. And how does that make you feel? Like, I'm guessing that you have incredible testimonials or people coming back and you watching their journey from starting with you with very little and seeing that unfold into something incredible.
You know what? My mentor, Paul Smith, said to me years ago, he said, Abi, you'll find out why you were put on this planet the day you don't have to work for money. Because 99% of people have to work for money. But the day you don't have to work for money, you'll find out what it is you're inspired and your heart leads you to do. And for me, it's helping others. So my best days and I got one yesterday, actually, and I was on the mountain in the Peak District on Baslow Edge. And I got a message from one of my students. And I've been working with her for a little time. She's a single mom. She's got a lot of limiting beliefs because, her ex told her that she was fat, ugly and stupid. I mean, if I ever meet this guy, I'm going to tell him a few things that I want to tell him. So she's been battling with all of that. But yesterday she sold her flip and she made £47,000.
Wow.
And she messaged me saying, I've just accepted the offer. It's 47 grand profit. This woman has never made 47 grand working full time for someone else ever. I think her current salary is 26 grand a year. So she's worked full time. She's got a kid, single mum, and she's just gone and done it. Those are the moments, because I know her life now will change forever. That 47 grand will be the tip of what she's just about to do, and I love that. Last year I worked with a pair of students, husband and wife. They had big jobs in the city in London, but they didn't have any time and they were missing out with their kids. So they said to me, I said, what's your dream? What would you love to do? And they were a bit hesitant because I don't think they wanted to say it because, again, they didn't believe it would happen. I said, come on, tell me what your dream is. And they said, what we want to do is we want to buy a camper van. We want to take the kids out of school. We want to travel the world and school them ourselves. We want enough money coming in that we can just go off in our camper van, travel the whole world and just be with our kids and school them ourselves and bring them up and just experience all the cultures and live. Because these guys are in their late 30s. I said, brilliant. I said, let's do it. 12 months later, we built them the portfolio. And I think they got to about 8.5 grand because they did flip one property to afford a pot of money for the camper van and, you know, some savings to hit back on. But yeah, 8.5 grand hits their bank account now, no matter what. They're off and they send me pictures from like, they've just been in Switzerland near one at lakes and I feel like sending them back that. Going, shut up. Stop making me jealous. You're traveling all over.
And that's
but I love it. I absolutely love it because that's changed their life forever, given them this freedom and this money that's just hitting their bank. They don't work. They're just with their kids and they're in the camper van. And this photo, they're in they've got the camper van in the background. They've got barbecue on. The little ones are just running around. The littlest has got like loads of blonde hair. Just like, oh.
So they're just living their dream. I think that's what's so incredible about your story, Abi, because you've transformed so many things. You've transformed your life. You've transformed the lives of your children. And then you've gone on to transform the lives of other people.
Yeah.
And I think particularly as well as in the work that I do on this, you know, on the other side of this in charity is that there is a fulfillment that you get that money can't give you and can't buy. And that is, I think, sometimes being able to help another human being and change their life.
Yeah.
And you can't undo that change after they've experienced it because they will only excel. And I think that's really special about your story as well, is that you're not just sitting there making all of this for yourself and growing this huge empire. You're sharing that knowledge and you're empowering both men and women. How incredible has this moment been just to have even changed one person's life?
It's amazing. And my students change people's lives. You see, what I teach my students is at the moment, when you're trading all your time for money, you're trying to juggle life, you can't help other people. So what we have to do is put your oxygen mask on first, get you financially free, then you can give back. My students are traveling all over the world, helping in orphanages, raising money, doing charities. So I know the people that I inspire, not only do they change their lives, they then go on to help other people. And it's like this beautiful like snowball effect of everyone helping everybody.
Like I've got music going through my veins. It's like, that's my power moments. Like when I'm starting to think a bit, it's like my power tunes get me up, get me going, changing my state immediately. So is there any particular song that sort of tells a story of your journey, or when you feel your mojo's just dipping a little bit, kind of gets you back up there?
Yes, it's Birdie, Keeping Your Head Up, and it is amazing. It's about change and, you know, you being on the brink and you be able to change and fly. It's a beautiful song. Always listen to it. And it's always over my social media as well.
Is it?
If anyone's listening, yeah. We use it a lot.
Okay. It's not coming to me immediately, but I'm going to go and have a little listen and then I shall think of you. Before we end up, I just had a question that I needed to ask you, which was, if I suddenly disappeared out of this chair, ta-da, and there was a little Abi sitting here, what would you like to tell that little girl?
I would like to tell her that she's got it. It's going to be amazing. Everything's going to be all right. But embrace the challenges, because it's the challenges that are going to make you stronger. Don't just try and avoid them and just want everything to be good, nice and happy. Go and embrace those challenges because they're going to make you strong and for what you need to do.
I have absolutely loved speaking to you, and I'm going to like quiz you after this so that I can go flip my first property. But but no, it's been so inspiring. I know that so many women are going to feel so inspired by this. And I'm really hoping that many of them kind of follow up and their lives can change by kind of empowering their knowledge in this area that maybe they need some support with. Thank you so much, Abi, for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's been such a pleasure.
Abi, thank you so much for showing us that reinvention is real, that money doesn't define us, but freedom does, and that midlife can be the most powerful chapter yet. And so to every woman listening, this is your whisper. This is your gentle nudge. This is your moment. And it's your time.